everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we are here, and I recently, and by recently I mean Christmas Day, on Christmas Day, I decided to go and see NOSFERATU, which was a movie that I have been really looking forward to seeing ever since the trailer came out. I'm a big vampire fan. If you've been following this channel, I talk about Interview with the Vampire almost every freaking time I do a video. It's a problem. Anyway, I love gothic media. I also really like Robert Eggers stuff. So I instantly knew that it was something I really wanted to watch and go see. And I wanted to also, as soon as I finished watching it too, I was like instantly inspired. So I also wanted to do some fan art. So that is what I'm currently working on in my sketchbook. Also, I did a little spread across my sketchbook of some of the scenes that I really liked in the movie, which was actually really hard too, because it was hard to choose which ones I wanted to use, because I have so many, and there's so many gorgeous shots in this movie, so it was actually really hard to choose a couple. But yeah, there's not going to be any, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about it, and also I'll talk a little bit about the process of doing the spread. There's not going to be any spoilers. There is, though. The movie's been out for a little while now, I guess, but there is, the only spoilery thing is I draw Count Orlok in this, and you see his face. So if you don't know what he looks like yet, still, that's the only spoilery thing there is in this, but it's a very cartoony version anyway, so yeah. But no, I saw it though on Christmas Day, which was also just very fun because I saw it a really late night showing. I didn't get out of the movie theater until I think it was 1 o'clock when I got out, and it was also snowing, and I don't know, it really helped with the vibe of the movie. And I also saw it on a really, really big a bigger screen than usual at the movie theater I went to, and it was just if you get the chance, I would highly recommend seeing this in the movie theater. I know recently there has been a lot of bad theater etiquette recently, which I was actually also afraid of, and I got very lucky actually, because I actually had a good experience, surprisingly. Even though my theater was completely packed and it was opening night, I was very lucky. But if you do get the chance, I would recommend seeing it in the theaters, because it's such a stunning movie. Whether you like it or not, plot wise, because I know there has been controversy about it, which I figured there was going to be. I'm not surprised. The gothic horror genre is usually a very controversial one, and it's definitely not a movie for everyone. I understand that. It's fine. I'm not saying you have to like it. But I would recommend, if you're thinking about when to go see it, it really does, just those shots in the movie theater are just so stunning. And yeah, overall though, I really enjoyed it. Sorry, I'm not a professional reviewer of things. These are just my own opinions, it doesn't really mean that much, but I just loved the vibe of it, and the tone and the settings, and again, just the way that it's color graded. I loved it. And there's just the whole sequence, my favorite sequence, I think, and this is I don't think this is a spoiler because it happens very early on, and there's quite a bit shown in the trailer, but it's the whole sequence where you see Thomas going up into where Count Orlok is, and that whole sequence, it feels the way the camera was shot, it feels you're on a ride. It was just, oh my god. And there's that iconic shot that I've seen quite a bit of people showing of whenever he's in the woods and you see the moon behind him and it's just his silhouette. Oh my god, it's so good. It's just gorgeous, absolutely stunning. Yeah, and then I think performances, Lily Rose Depp was absolutely amazing, freaking blew me away. I loved the way that she portrayed this character. I loved her performance. The scene that I'm drawing right here, she has so many crazy scenes in that, and just the performances all around were insane. I really enjoyed it. I think my one criticism I would say would be that I honestly think, and maybe this is like a hot take, I honestly think that the movie could have maybe gone even further with how disturbing it could have been. Because I was going into it, I was expecting it honestly to be even more disturbing and to like mess me up a little bit more because I like to traumatize myself. I love to do that. It's like my favorite thing. And I do think psychologically maybe they could have pushed that a little bit more, but that's just my take. I don't know. But on this like page that I'm drawing in general with these scenes and everything, I originally I was thinking about doing it with my markers, but I decided eventually though that I really wanted to just keep it with my pens and keep very minimal color, because I really wanted to try to emulate to like the way that it's colored in the movie, because there's a lot of like very deep like purples and like blues and like a darker vibe throughout, which I don't think I fully captured. I feel like if I did this digitally I would have captured it better, which I might do some digital stuff in the future for this. I probably won't post it. I'll probably like post it on other social media stuff, but I wanted to try to capture it that way. And so I tried to keep it more simple with the shading and stuff. I'm using microns and I'm using a Sakura brush pen right now. And I had a lot of fun like coloring in with the brush pen. Like I used a lot of it this time around, and I find myself more and more when it comes to using brush pens in particular, because they're very they're not easy to control. And so I find myself actually just being more, I don't know, like the less precise I am, the better of an outcome I come out with. So I'm usually actually a lot more messy. I feel like you can kind of see it with the way I'm like outlining a lot of the stuff here. I'm a lot more messy though when it comes to using them. I don't actually particularly care for super neat clean line art, which again, that's more of a preference thing. I know people like different things. I understand that, because I do think like clean line art looks really good, but for me personally, I think my art turns out better actually whenever I'm a little bit more messy with it. Especially when it comes to brush pen, because the more I try to be precise, the worse it looks. I mean, I also, though, I'm not like, I don't use brush pen that much, so I'm also not as skilled as I could be, like if I did it more. But I did kind of purposely though want to go for the more scratchy look anyway, because like especially on the one I'm working on right now, because a lot of these shots are like very like horror focused and like shock and like fear, and they're supposed to look more scary and kind of frantic anyway, so I wanted to go for that vibe when I don't know why I keep saying vibe. I wanted to go for that whenever I was coloring these, and I really wanted to have a lot of very like it was a lot of fun, especially like this hand was very fun because I tried to get a lot of very angular like features, and I made it bigger than necessary because I wanted it to be fully like enveloping her. But it was really fun too to color like the hair on these ones. Like her hair, coloring it was so fun because it's just so dark. And then I've kind of found out more and more techniques with the brush pen to get like kind of a scratchy look where I can add highlights and stuff. And also just like adding those like the flyaways and stuff too is always so satisfying to me. But I find actually like the more my brush pens die, the more actually it can be used for shading, and like the more flayed out the brush pen gets, because as you use them they get kind of, or at least mine do, they get like frayed on the edges, probably because I'm a little bit rough with them too. But yeah, and then for this last one that I'm working on right here, I ended up doing some India ink at the very end, because this is one of my favorite portraits in the movie, which another thing I love about it too is they use a lot of very symmetrical shots, which I'm a sucker for. And I really wanted to try to I ended up doing a base layer of watercolor purple, because again I was trying to get the tone, which I ended up doing. I ended up laying down watercolor over everything in the end to get like that color grading effect, but it didn't really work as well as I wish it did. I think I should have used more of like a blue purple. It's not as dark as I wish it could have been, but I eventually though went back in over this, as you'll see, and I added some India ink on this one. I did it on a watercolor piece of paper because the ELO sketchbook that I'm using currently, it can't really handle watercolor. After a while, I've noticed the page, if you put a lot of watercolor on it, it will get like flayed and it starts to like make a weird freckled design. I don't know how to say it. It's weird. But this was so fun. And like Lily Rose Depp has such like a, I don't know, the way that her face was shadowed, if that makes sense, shaded, I guess, in this was like really fun to try to emulate. And yeah, I just had a really good time coloring this, and it was fun, and it was bringing me back to Inktober because I haven't used my inks since I did Inktober. And it was really fun. I didn't fully shade this crazy, but I just kind of wanted to do a little bit here and there. And it was very fun. I also, on the bonnet that she's wearing, I kind of was doing like a cool effect with the paint where I added a whole bunch of water over top of it. I don't remember what, it's a specific technique that I know a lot of watercolor people use. And I like splayed the color out over top of everything, so it kind of had like a gradient effect over top of it where the water would spread out nicely and everything. And yeah, that was also really fun to do, and I had a fun time doing that. And I actually really for a while there I was kind of nervous because it was looking kind of weird, but overall I think it ended up turning out good, and I'm really happy with it. Again, yeah, adding those, like the brush pen I ended up adding over top of it still though, because the brush pen is like, I feel like you can get the India ink to get that dark, but the brush pen I use a lot over top of this because you can control it a little bit easier. And I also think it's a cool contrast to the India ink, so I decided to keep those things separate. And I was actually debating on whether or not I wanted to keep the pupils in, but I decided to color them completely black, fully. But yeah, that's my whole spread overall. Let me know what you thought of this movie if you've seen it. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. I hope that everyone has a really good day. And I'll see you guys again next week. Bye.